Hi, I'm Jack Maxwell. Welcome to Jack's Place. If you watch this show at all, you know what it's about generally. I invite you in every Sunday to have a drink with me and to ask questions about whatever you want to have a dialogue, to get anything off your chest. Uh, and I describe what it is I'm drinking, and we go from there. This is a gin and tonic, by the way, but tonight's going to be a little different. Oh, how does this go? Where do I start? I don't know. If I was a news anchor or a reporter, some kind of journalist, talk show host, in the true sense of the word, I'd know what to say. Maybe I'd have a teleprompter in front of me with the right words that I wrote, or maybe someone else, to share with you about what's going on in America right now, because it's a time that we have to communicate to each other what's going on. I think because we haven't, we express ourselves in other ways. And last week I had a guest on this show, and a lot happened in that time, as you know, of course. So this is your hour. I want you to vent, to talk about whatever you want, to ask me whatever you want. Generally, I'd be telling you about the other shows I do, and we'd be talking about those. I'm not even going to mention them because I don't care about any of that. I don't want to promote anything I do. I was even hesitant this morning to post what I did. If you follow me on social media, you know what's up there. I live in a place that's right next to a lot of stores, and those stores were looted for the most part, damaged, windows shattered. And why? Well, that's what we'll talk about for the next hour. But when I went to bed last night, I heard police officers on loudspeakers. I heard helicopters flying above, right over the roof. The violence hadn't quite started yet, but they were anticipating it. I woke up to a very strange post-apocalyptic scene. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. Scottsdale, if you know anything about this place, you would think maybe this is one of the last places that would happen. But I guess this shows us where we are now, that anything can happen at any time. This didn't just start 5 nights ago, although, of course, this was the start of the physical protests and the violence. But before we get into all of that, let me say this. This will not be political. I'm not going to take political sides, but I'm on the side of humanity. I think I'm on your side. Maybe not. Maybe you'll let me know that's not the case, depending, really. But this is how I feel, generally speaking. I don't share these kind of personal things with you, although you know a lot about me. When I was hosting a show called Booze Traveler on Travel Channel, I went around the world. I saw all different kinds of people, a lot of things you didn't see on the show, that when there were disputes, not with us, the crew necessarily, but the locals, how they solved it, what they did, because at the end of the day, they had to live with each other. So do we. So let's instead of finding the things we disagree on, and I'm not just going to whitewash this whole thing and sugarcoat it. It's a horrible thing that's going on in our country right now. But I know there are plenty of people who can wax poetic on that. If I wanted to do that, a political thing, I'd get a political radio show. I don't want to do that. You know who I am. I like to have a drink. I love to travel and people around the world and their cultures. This is what I want to talk about with you. This didn't start with the killing of George Floyd, or Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Philando Castile. No, this has been going on a long time. And that is that a group of people feel that they're being targeted. You want to talk about that? Say that's not true? Stats prove it is. I don't know what it's like to be a person of color having to live in America. I think one thing we can agree on is that George Floyd was killed. This man, this officer who was supposed to enforce the law kneeled on his neck for 8 or 9 minutes, including for 2 minutes after he was unresponsive. That should not happen. And then, of course, the protests and the demonstrations. This is who we are in America. We get to do that. We have that freedom. But then, of course, then the destruction, the mayhem, and the violence. That has nothing to do with demonstrating peacefully or protesting. We can't become that. We can't just destroy things because we're upset. Not if we want to be better. I understand it, though. Certainly. You know, you might know about this. You might know this about me. Maybe not. I grew up in the projects, and it was very poor and a lot of violence and broken windows and cars on fire. And they burned down the school across the street. Domestic violence, left and right, fights, people sent to the hospital constantly. My mother was in that situation. Dead poor, working as hard as she could. She never stole. She never took from anyone. Other people there did, and she tried to raise me that way. She's way better than I'll ever be. My grandmother tried to teach me the right way as well. I understand that there's, even though I can't really relate being who I am, but I come from a background that we were treated poorly because we grew up there. Oh, those are the poor kids. And it's horrible to see what's going on. I can't stand it. But what is it really about? Blaming other people? That's what we want to do? It's always them. I know you might have in your mind right now whose fault this whole thing is. Maybe you know, maybe you don't. I know this. This isn't black versus white, man, woman, rich, poor, Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, the North and the South. No. No matter what category you're in that I just named, either you are corrupt or you are not. If you take this opportunity to smash property of innocent people have nothing to do with what you're feeling. If you do that, you're corrupt. You can't do that under the guise of I'm protesting, I'm demonstrating, and still be heard. I get that. But nor can we keep doing what we're doing that take the lives of these people so lightly. There were 4 officers there, and I grew up around cops. I love them. They were nice to me. They put their lives on the line, especially in my neighborhood. But what we saw, we can't unsee, and we can't allow that to happen. And other officers stood around and did nothing. The good part of this, and there's so much bad, is that there's very few people who disagree that what we saw was horrendous and should never happen. Are there any of you out there who think this guy deserved it? And no buts. There's no buts. He should be alive. Say his name. George Floyd should be alive. That's all. He was handcuffed, restrained, and under control. He said he couldn't breathe until he couldn't speak anymore. Till the life slowly and painfully, I'm sure, seeped away. That should never happen. Ever. Do you think it should? I want to hear from you no matter what you believe. I'm not going to put your comment up there if you're political and you say it's this guy's fault, that person, this party, this whatever. Hey, I know how I feel. I know how I voted. I have a friend who is very adamantly sure of himself that in his mind, it's all the Democrats' fault. It's the liberals that allowed this to happen. I'm not going to put up with any of that. None of it. None of it. You can vote. You will vote November 3rd if you feel strongly enough. And hopefully you will. And you'll make a change if that's what you believe in. But we can't go around hurting other people. Other people have died in this mayhem and this destruction. Could it have been avoided? Yeah. If someone stepped up and saved George Floyd's life, this wouldn't have happened, I'm sure. There's an understanding that if you give law enforcement the power to decide who lives and dies, that they have to use that judiciously. I know it's a hard job. Some of them are really wonderful, but we can't allow this to happen. I went on a ride along here in Phoenix, and I saw a police officer do something he didn't have to do. There was a Native American man who wanted to kill himself. He got the call over the radio. He was bouncing in and out of traffic. He was drunk out of his mind, and he found out from his brother that his mother just died. And he was without a t-shirt, without shoes, yet he still felt the pain, although he tried to drink it away, I'm sure, and wanted to kill himself. This officer saved his life, brought him into a Burger King and fed him. And on the way home, we picked up a guy who was puking in the bushes and drove him home. That guy was just, I don't know what he was drinking about. He didn't say. But George Floyd, this can't happen. We can't allow it. You know, I'm sure you've seen this quote this week. John F. Kennedy said, I want to read right from it because I don't want to get it wrong. I'm not that smart. I get quotes wrong all the time. John F. Kennedy said, those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. Why can't they just protest peacefully? Yeah, they tried that, didn't they? Colin Kaepernick took a knee and he got fired from his job and lost millions of dollars. Looking back, that wasn't so bad, was it? I have someone very close to me. We were watching when this came on the news, one of the times they talked about it. And he said, why does he have to do that? It's disrespecting the flag. And maybe you feel that. Maybe you do. And I said, does that make you feel uncomfortable? The person I was with said, yeah, it does. But that's the only way we change anything. You think if Rosa Parks went to the back of that bus and said, this is wrong, that we would have heard her voice? She had to take a seat in the front for the dominoes to fall. And of course, these people are met with violence. These people who stand up for themselves is what I mean when I say these people. Remember Bull Connor in the South? Sicking dogs on people. 4 little girls dying in a Birmingham church. Bomb that killed them. Because we didn't want others to be equal, to have what we have. Again, I don't have the answer. I'm not smart enough to know. But I know we got to start finding some common ground here. I'm just a guy used to be on TV. Now I'm on this. Maybe I'll be back on TV again someday. Hey, I'm not that smart. But I know we can't say it's them, it's you. There's no equivalence. When buildings get burned down and windows get smashed, that's not the same as taking someone's life. They're both wrong, but they're wrong in different ways. They're a different kind of wrong. I get that people are mad and frustrated. I grew up around it in the D Street projects of South Boston. Poor people were frustrated and they took it out. I get that. I'm not saying it's right. You can't do it. It happened right here, just yards from my front door. I didn't freak out. Nothing happened to me. But those stores are ruined. People put so much work and effort and finances into running a place. The economy is already in shambles. And now this is going to make it worse. And we're living with the coronavirus. I get it. The country's not just a tinderbox. It's a matchbox. One candle and it lights up all over the place. Where are you right now? What city are you in? You want to talk about what it's like there? You can say what's on your mind and you can ask me anything. I have a producer who puts the questions up on the screen as he sees fit, and we'll get to those. But I want you to know that you don't know me. You might think you do. You don't know my politics, what I believe in. I don't know me. How can you? We don't know these people either. We don't know what they're feeling. And I mean people who are in pain right now on both sides of the aisle. Again, it's not black and white. It's not about black people, white people, or any kind of divide other than you are corrupt. If you excuse one and not the other, you are corrupt morally. I'm not a perfect person, but this I know. So either we put up with it or we call it out every time it happens across the board. And again, lives are more important than buildings. What's going on here? We have the worst pandemic in 100 years, the worst unemployment since the Great Depression, or at least it's headed that way. And now the worst violence since 1968. You remember that year? Martin Luther King gunned down in April, RFK in June, all kind of riots, including at the Democratic Convention. We're better than this. Come on. Let's be better. That's why this morning I posted. I went out to my neighborhood and I swept up glass with the firefighters and other people, shop owners, just neighbors. And I posted that because I hope to inspire that it's about love, not hate. Let's help out when we can. And of course, I took shit from both sides. Somebody said, why are you posting this? Post about injustice and racism. Yes, those are horrible. That is true. But I'm just trying to do my part. Then, of course, the other side. What are you? Some kind of liberal out there sweeping glass? You should just get a gun and load it. Can't win, but I'm not trying to win. I'm just trying to let you know that as an individual, there's one thing we have control over, no matter where we're from, who we are, who we align with politically, socially, economically, any of it. We have one thing that we can actually control, and that's how we feel about something and what we decide to do. I decided to help my community in whatever way I could, and that meant cleaning up some mess and talking to people. Ran into some really nice people out there. A couple of them were going to be on the show, and then they got cold feet. One of them, because they got, ratioed on social media. They posted that they were cleaning up, and they got threats or some bad things said to them. I don't know the exact story. I got it secondhand. But I don't care. To me, it doesn't matter. If you stop watching my shows or what I do because of what I'm saying, that's okay. At least you know me now. I'm being honest, and I'm reaching out to you, and I'm giving you a platform. What do you want to say today? What do you want to ask me? Let's look at some questions and get to them. Questions and comments. And I need this drink, that's for sure. What are you drinking? Where are you? What's going on in your city? Jack, you did your part for where you live and showed to be a real role model and a citizen. Brian K. Thank you. I don't know what that means. I think we all have to be that. I really hesitated about posting that because I said, wait a minute, I don't want to post this. Shows me doing a great deed like I'm some wonderful person. That's not true at all. What time is it? We got plenty of time. But we have to. I could have gone out and walked through one of the windows and pulled some merchandise off the shelves. But no, I align with the people who are hurting. I grew up poor. I grew up looked down upon because of where I was from, my economic condition. I don't know what it's like to really be discriminated against. I'm lucky. Middle-aged white guy in the entertainment field, I guess, to whatever extent you want to call that. Certainly not famous. I just want to be an artist. That's all I ever wanted to be. So how do you not feel for the George Floyds of the world and their families and what they're going through? It happens time and time and time again. So attack me. Go ahead. Both sides. Because you think you know where I stand on this. Any other questions or comments? Let me know. Beth Krenzer. Women's March organized a cleanup in Chicago Sunday morning. I don't think they got mocked. Well, that's great. I don't care that I got mocked. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense. Someone does something nice or tries to, and they get mocked for it. How can you? How could you get mocked for saying what happened was wrong? Can't break into businesses and smash things and expect to be accepted? You can't. You can't. And you can't kill people that shouldn't die, shouldn't be dead, should be alive. And again, I'm not trying to bring up an equivalency. I just saw something right before I started talking to you. There was a Starbucks. I don't know where it was. That's how quickly it came and went. But there are a couple of punk white kids spraying on a Starbucks. Down with Whitey. Who even uses that term anymore? I mean, I haven't heard that since Gil Scott-Heron. Whitey on the moon. And they said BLM, but there was white kids just because they were trying to start trouble. Yeah, I know it's both sides. In this case, there are people of all kind of colors and ethnicities, social economic situations that are causing damage. I get it. But don't fool yourself. Don't think you can look to one organization and say they're behind it all. Because this comes from everywhere. People who are in pain, people who are economically distressed, people of color who think they're not being heard, people who just want stuff. I get that too. Sure. You can't put that on protesters and demonstrators. A great majority of them are peaceful and are just speaking out because they're so frustrated and in so much pain. The greatest example I can give you is when a team wins a championship. Lived in LA 20-something years. I'm in Phoenix now, as you probably know, just because I was undergoing chemo. I'll be back in LA soon as things open up. But the Lakers, they won a lot of championships, which I didn't like because I'm a Celtic guy, being from Boston. But that's okay. I got great respect for the organization, especially during the Showtime years. I mean, Kobe, rest in peace, great player. But they would smash things when the Lakers won. People would go out, damage cop cars, storefronts, get into fights. What's that all about? Why would you do that? Those aren't good people. Those aren't people just protesting or demonstrating. You don't celebrate like that. You can't do that. You can't. Just like now, and this is a better reason to be upset, I suppose. Your team won. You shouldn't destroy things. Ever. I get you're upset now because of the injustice. You're hurting. Yes. But now you've passed that hurt on. Look at these shopkeepers who now have to go through what they're going through. I mean, I looked into the eyes of these people. I haven't had the opportunity to look into the eyes of people in the community that were hurt, even devastated by the deaths of their people that keep lining up. I don't know if I could without breaking down, to be honest with you. But here, where I am, where I was trying to do my part, I looked into their eyes and saw how much they were hurting. Is that really what you wanted to do when you were smashing windows? And again, I don't want to spend too much time on that. A man is dead that shouldn't be. That's the true travesty. That should never happen. Ever. And when it does, we have to call it out. If you don't, if you're more upset that a window got smashed than that a guy is dead, you're morally corrupt. I want to hear from you. Tell me that. Yusuf, put on those people who are slamming me. Put those comments up there or those questions. I want to see those. Yusuf's my technical guy today. It takes a community as a whole to band together and clean this up. True change is needed, says Samantha Lowry. Hi, Samantha. But rioting and looting isn't the way to accomplish a positive result. That is true. Kneeling on someone's neck is not the way to restrain them properly, especially if you're trained, and then you kill them. Right. I don't know that frustrated people are trying to get a positive result. I've been mad. I'm Sicilian and Irish. I've lost my temper. The result I was looking for was to blow off steam because I felt so frustrated, mad, angry, all hurt, I'm sure. That's where it comes from. I wasn't looking for a positive result. I understand that it's not calculated. If you're protesting, good for you. If you're demonstrating, that's the right thing to do because that's how you feel when an injustice like this happens. I get it. But if you smash windows and take merchandise and run out, that's looting. That's wrong, and you could lose your life. We're all upset at the death of George Floyd. But if you get shot stealing a TV or a computer out of the Apple store, which they ransacked over here, if you lose your life, what's the point of all of that? There's no correlation. So yes, let's not lose the bigger picture here. When the Lakers win a championship and people in LA riot and destroy cars and businesses in the neighborhood, that makes no sense at all. Why do they do that? We don't say all Laker fans are like that. No, it's just a few people. And these people are using this to advantage. They're saying, in the chaos, I will benefit. Anyone who does that, who stirs chaos when we should be healing, anyone who divides when we should be uniting is wrong. Do you not feel that way? Let me know. And I promise next week, unless the world blows up, to get back to doing what we usually do. I hope. Because I know there are enough places you can go to get this kind of thing. But I have to share with you how I feel. I have to be honest. There's no point in doing these other things, having fun, joking around, wordplay, puns, if at a time like this, you can't hear from me and how I really feel. But I want to hear how you feel. You have questions or comments, please let me know. Ray Jones says, R-A-E, by the way, picture of two ladies, so I'm presuming she's a female. She says, I watched my city burn last night in Philly. It reminded me of 9/11. It was sad, surreal, and unsettling. It wasn't the peaceful protesters causing harm and destruction. Well, of course not. Just like not all cops incite violence. I think we need to understand this first. We cleaned up here today, and we will probably have to tomorrow. Okay. Well, I want to give you a platform here, Ray. We need to understand what first? That not all cops are bad? Well, of course not. But they can't commit murder. It takes a few. I know Chris Rock said something like this. I got this from a friend of mine. He said, in some jobs, you can't have a few bad apples. An airline can't say, well, most of our pilots like to land. You can't do that. We're going to wait to find out what this guy's motivation was. I'm sure there's going to be a trial. He was charged with third-degree murder and manslaughter. Why? That seems light, doesn't it? Maybe because they know they can get a conviction. They don't have to prove intent. I don't know why exactly. We'll see how that unfolds. Seems like it keeps happening. Not just cops. I just mean violence in America. That's a whole other issue, isn't it? But of course, not all cops are bad. Just like not all protesters and demonstrators are bad. Of course they're not. And the people who are peacefully protesting should not be painted with this big, wide brush. If you say you're a protester and you're a demonstrator, good for you. It takes a lot of guts. I have friends who walked these protests around the country. Even in other countries, this has affected them. You have the guts to go there and protest peacefully and to demonstrate. That's great. You break windows in the meantime. You tag walls. You're not a protester. You're not a demonstrator. You're a criminal. And if you have a restrained man on his stomach, in handcuffs and under control, and you kneel on his neck for 9 minutes, and he's telling you he can't breathe. He's telling you He's dying, and he's telling others they're going to kill me. You stay there until he dies. And for 2.5 minutes after there's no response, you're a criminal. Susan Barnes Johnson. George Floyd was owed a citation and notice to appear only. Well, from what I understand, it was about possible forgery. Was that racism? Would they do that to a white guy? Would they throw him down and handcuff him? I don't know what was on that police officer's mind. I don't know about whether it was systemic in that department or not. Some departments it was, and it's been rooted out. Some still exist. I don't know. It's just the wrong thing to do, man. We have to stop. We have to come together. We have to unite. We're all Americans, and then on top of that, we're all humans. Why do we treat each other like that? This is not some rose-colored glasses, Pollyanna-ish rant. It doesn't have to be that way. We can practice kindness and gentility. You know, it's funny, too. I posted something the other night before last night's protest. Just a picture of a palm tree in the desert with beautiful backdrop to sunset. And I said, it was a sad and tragic week for our country. We have to do better. We have to be better. I said, I care about you because I do. And I ended it with peace. And I got comments, peace is not gonna, doesn't do anything. Yeah, I wish peace paid my bills. Peace, 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 peace. Don't you want peace? But true peace, not just the absence of conflict, but the feeling of security, knowing that we all agree to this social construct, that we walk around not punching each other in the face. Look, traffic laws are that way. When the light turns red, we stop and let the other people go. If you just did what you wanted to do, it would be chaos. We can't do that. We have to agree, even if we don't feel like it. Not to mention, again, we have a virus going around, killing a lot of people, whatever you feel about that, one way or the other. We're under a lot of stress and pressure right now, probably the most for this period of time I've ever felt in my lifetime. 9/11 was horrible, it was tragic. It was confined, the damage, physical damage to New York City and the Pentagon, a field in Pennsylvania. But we all felt it. And it was crazy for days and weeks and months. Finally, we started getting a semblance of normalcy. Then the Iraq War, then Afghanistan, or Afghanistan first, then Iraq. But now, a combination of things, overwhelming. We have a choice. Either you can put your hand out to someone different. Easy to be a friend with someone, it's easy to be a friend too. You can pick up a broom. You can make a phone call, a kind gesture. Make reconciliation with someone. Be nice. Or not. Or you can just blame someone and lash out in hate. And that's going to keep going. I know sometimes conflict is necessary. I know sometimes deadly conflict is necessary. If somebody came in and tried to harm me, member of my family or friends, or however you want to say that, I would stop it if I could. For those out there who are calling me names, liberal, this and that, and all this other stuff, I don't care what you call me. Something you don't know, I own a gun, and I would use it with deadly intent if someone tried to kill someone I love. But I wouldn't go around using it just because I could. What was that all about? Kneeling on a neck till someone died. Is that really about arresting someone? Was it racism? Was it a power play? I know you have opinions on that. But whatever it was, I know one thing for sure. It was wrong. So when people act out, demonstrate, protest, make noise, well, what do you expect? We should stop being colors and start being Americans, says Shannon. Yeah. Okay. So I want to hear from someone. How do you do that? Exactly. How do you stop being a color and stop being an American? Is it just believing what certain people believe? Because we have to be individuals, right? There are many cultures in America. We are truly the melting pot. There are neighborhoods, not so many here in Phoenix like that, although there are some, technically right in Scottsdale, which is hardly any ethnic neighborhoods here. Where I grew up in Boston, Southie was Irish, Eastie or East Boston was Italian, and of course there are mix. The North End, great Italian neighborhood, lots of great restaurants. New York City, it's like that. Hasidic Jews, Ethiopians, Little Korea, all of it. Chinatown, we got it all everywhere in most big cities. We don't want to homogenize the place for sure. We want to be who we are and pay tribute to where we come from as a culture, as a people. It's okay to be proud of who you are. But if that means pointing the finger at somebody else and saying you're not as good as I am because you're not my color, my ethnicity, my religion, my political affiliation, my economic designation, what's going on with that? How does that happen? Why can't you be something without saying someone else isn't, so they're not as good as me? Or I guess if you take that to an extreme, they should die. There's no doubt that religions have caused more wars than anything else, or disputes over religions. Because you're not like me, so you have to die. God is telling me I got to kill you because you don't believe in the same God I do. Or maybe you do, but you don't believe in the same way I do. Then what happens? What sense does that make? Do you really want to see everybody dead except for people in your religion? Because once that happens, then it's going to be the extreme versus the moderates in your religion. And then we keep going smaller and smaller till we're all gone. If you don't say something when they come for a certain group, even if you're not part of it, who's going to stick up for you when they come for you, right? I didn't make that up, but it's true. You've been all over the world. What type of racism have you witnessed? Anything that compares to the race issues we have here? I wouldn't speak on that because just by seeing something once for a short period of time, you cannot say that that exists in that way. You have to live amongst it, I believe. Now, when I was doing the show, Booze Traveler, we'd be in a location maybe a couple of weeks. So yeah, I saw racism, hate, negativity, all of those things exist as long as the earth has been here. All of those things, misogyny, everything. That's never going to go away, but we have to be better. And it starts with me, by the way. I'm not telling you what to do, what to think, who to vote for. I would never do that. But that's why I did what I did this morning. I said, how can I help? Instead of going on a rant, picking up the phone, swearing at all the people who did damage, causing more hate to circulate, I said, how can I help? And I was outside and I saw what happened. And there were firefighters there and shop owners, but the neighborhood came out in full force and they were sweeping and giving each other bottles of water. It's real hot here, over 100 now, I'm sure. And I saw a community come together to help. Now you can look at that any way you want to. You can say, what good does that do? You can only do what you can. And why wouldn't you? You can be mad and angry and channel that into positivity. I hate what happened to George Floyd. I hate that it keeps happening. any injustice, I will speak up for. And for those who would say, shut up, you Hollywood, whatever, liberal, you're around here doing this. I don't care about your opinion. Yeah, but would you say that if someone came on here and agreed with your opinion? Right? I see people attacking Hollywood all the time. I've been a member of that community for a long time. In that I lived there and I sought out, like most of them, acting work, whether it's on stage, television, film, and then I started hosting. A lot of good people there. So when they speak out and you say, shut up and make movies, or shut up and dribble, like they said to LeBron James, why can't people with a voice speak out? You accept it, it's of yours. Let's just, for an example, let's say that you lean to the right end of the political spectrum and you tell Hollywood people to shut up or athletes to shut up because they don't agree with you, or musicians. Do you say the same thing when someone on your political side says that? Like a Ted Nugent or a Kid Rock or James Woods? Do you say to them, shut up? Because if you don't, you're a hypocrite. And that goes with the other side too. That's the problem. Again, it's not about liberal and conservative. It's, are you morally corrupt or not? Will you speak out across the aisle no matter what? If you see injustice, will you stand up for it? And against it, stand up for yourself and say, this is wrong. Let your voice be heard. That's the only way we're going to have any kind of change. Oh, if you hate America so much, why don't you leave it? I don't hate it. I love it. I want to stay here. Why would I leave? I just want to make it better. I don't want that to happen anymore. I don't want people to die unnecessarily. There's a lot to talk about that we can help fix. Speak out first, but speak out with love and understanding. I don't want to hurt you. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings because I might have different political beliefs or arguments than you do, but we're people first. I have friends that think very different than I do politically, and we're still friends because I see how they are as people, the love that they show to their friends and family. That's most important because we have to live here together. I just saw a question. What was that? I missed it. Yusuf, can you put that back up? Wish I knew how to help and stop these kinds of things from happening. Feels like we need a real life superhero right now. Thank you, Nate. Yeah, well, that would be easy, wouldn't it? Why do you think superheroes are so popular? Because a strong person, great courage, bravery, and superpowers comes along and fixes everything. Someone falls off a building, they just swoop in and save them. Or they fight the criminals. Gotham City, they clean it up. Yeah, that's why they're so popular, because we love that one man has all the answers, that can come in and fix it all for us and make everything right. But we have to be our own superheroes. Because you don't think you have the power of a Superman or a Batman, or the Flash or Hulk or Iron Man, whatever. But what does that come from? It comes from a desire to help. If you speak out, you don't know what that's going to do to someone else, how it might inspire them to do good in the world. That's why I posted that picture this morning of cleaning up the glass. I still got shit for it, but that's all right. I wasn't doing enough, some people said. Go to the inner city and help them. Or why are you doing that, you Hollywood phony? You're just trying to get a picture on social media. I don't have to do that. I actually helped. I didn't take a selfie. I did something. Did you? I'm speaking out from a position of love and understanding because I really care, not of hate and violence. You don't have to do that. This is your community and your world. Let's try to keep it and pass on a good one to our kids and grandkids. I usually have a timer on there. I don't know how to do it. I didn't have it up there. So I don't want to ramble. If you want to get something off your chest, this is for you. Start commenting and I'll read them. we'll just put those through, Yusuf. Comments, I want to hear them. I want to hear people, what's on their minds. Vicky Brogan, I'm in Las Vegas. There have been peaceful protests, followed by destruction by folks who just wanted to cause trouble. Friday night was on the Strip, last night downtown. Tonight, businesses are closing early because violence is anticipated. My heart hurts. We need to be better than this. That's right. We need to be better than this. The great tragedy in this is that the death of a man who should still be alive, George Floyd, is getting washed away by all the violence and the destruction. Of course, there are many, many peaceful protesters and peaceful demonstrators. And there are people who are agitating and accelerating, causing trouble, who aren't really part of that movement to pin it on them. And yet there are people of certain movements that want destruction in the United States. They want us to not feel peaceful for their own purposes. So instead of running to your clique, to your tribe, to what you think you believe, how do you really feel as a person? Don't run to that political side or to that neighborhood economic side. Run to the people who feel like you do about love and don't want destruction, don't want mayhem, and don't want an innocent man killed because someone who is trained, someone who should know better, someone who's supposed to be enforcing the law instead took it into his own hands and kneeled on a man's neck till he killed him. That's it. He killed him. He's been charged with that. I'd really like to see if anyone disagrees with that. You feel he should be dead? That he caused it? Like that mayor of Mississippi who said he could breathe? I could hear him. He was talking. If you can talk, you can breathe. Probably a heart attack. Or maybe he took something or took drugs. That's racism. That's horrible. You don't say that. We don't know. But we know what we saw. Yes, let's not jump to conclusions, of course. Let's not decide what kind of murder it was, whether it was manslaughter or just in the line of duty. I know cops have it tough. I grew up around them. I'm not brave like they are. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to be an officer, especially today. I want to say thank you to those who protect us. I have friends who are police officers. I know that when they put on that vest in the morning, they strap it on, they could be, maybe they won't be coming home that night. But we need them. But even more than that, we need good ones. Be a good one. Be a good person. All right, what's that quote right here? I just saw a question. All right, so this Laszlo says, this is no longer about George Floyd, Jack! Exclamation point. He wants me to know he's serious. This is paid agitators causing trouble and mayhem. Our city officials need some real soul searching. How do you know that, Laszlo? How do you know it's paid agitators? And from what side do you speak? As I saw videos, more than one, of people in masks that were white, that were causing destruction, and it was blamed, and they wanted to be blamed on people other than them. Let's put it that way. So who's paying these agitators? I don't want to hear it unless you know. Who? Antifa? You're going to say that? Or you're going to say the other side? Before you attack anyone, what did I say this was about? I don't have the answers unless you know, you show me. Then I'll talk about it. This is about healing. Yes, there's going to be more violence. Of course, this is far from over. I don't have the answers. I'm not this great uniter. I'm not so smart in everything I do. I just do this little show called Jack's Place where I come on with you and have a drink. But I couldn't ignore this. I didn't want to talk about this because I didn't want it to happen. But since it is, I have to talk about it. I can't ignore it. This is a serious, somber time in our country for a lot of reasons. Not to mention, over 100,000 people are dead from the coronavirus. Maybe you know someone who's been affected. I'm starting to hear more and more people. It's in their family. Nobody wants any of that. And then we don't need this on top of it. Shouldn't we try to do what we can? Shouldn't we offer a kind word? Shouldn't we help out in our community if we can? I know what this has done for me. And I was talking about the coronavirus earlier on this other thing I do. And I was saying how, and even on this, how the silver lining is I've got to slow down. I've been able to slow down and really connect with people, not just up here on a social level, but really connect with them, spend more time on the phone with them because I don't have to rush off to something else, to visit them at a distance and spend some time. It has slowed things down. It's not a lot of silver lining with this virus, but that was one of them. So with this now, this Jack's Place where we have a drink and we try to have some fun and some laughs, has become this because I won't ignore it. You can tell me to shut up or go away or stop watching. So what? I don't have that many followers or watchers anyway. You don't like what I'm saying? You can turn it off. That's okay. But I know one thing. Someone asked me earlier about going around the world and what I experienced. I saw poor people, sick people, oppressed people be nice to each other and to me. Yeah, it's not that simple, Jack. Can't just be nice. The world's a serious place, a lot of war and destruction. Yes, but you have a choice about how to look at something. Do you want to be kind or do you not? That's all. I know you can't always be, but try to be. So the thing I'm taking from this is I'm going to volunteer more now, my time, my efforts. I realize that so many people don't have it as good as I do. So I'm going to try to do more for them. And I mean all people. Even if it's just someone next door helping them with their groceries. Or stopping and talking to people from different areas, communities, different political stripes, different religions. Try to get to know them, because when we see each other as humans first, not a color, a race, a religion, a political side, people from the north, the south, different states, different cities. We're all people first. If you know me, you know that about me. I don't spout hate. I can. I get a lot of it online. I don't shoot it back, because what's the point of that? What is that going to do? Just causes more, doesn't it? So I've learned that from this. I'm going to try to be a better person. I'm not telling you to be. I hope you heard something, or in all of this, you realize it's the right thing to do, that you will be a better person. You have a format. This is yours. Talk about it. Want to talk about it next week? We do that too. Hopefully by then I'm going to have a guest on next week who is part of this other thing I do. Wonderful singer-songwriter. And we'll get back to some sense of normalcy. But to deny it, just to sweep it under the rug, to not say George Floyd, to not say his death was wrong, is in itself wrong. To not speak out and say, yes, we should protest, even if we disagree with these protests, we have to allow them, and demonstrators, but not violent ones. We can't allow for looting and smashing things, hurting others, killing others, destroying property. Can't do that either. What's that going to get you? Just more hate, because that's what it is. So I get it. So let's calm this thing down. Let's bring the temperature down a bit, if we can. But you can. You can do your part. I think so anyway. But hey, what do I know? Anger is a root to evil, Sean Campbell says. You tell him, Jack. I'm not trying to tell you anything. I'm just trying to share with you how I feel. That's all. I'm distraught over this. I'm hurting. This is not my usual tone and tenor. Usually I have more energy. I'm usually a lot happier. I love to joke around because that's how I look at life. That's on the things I've done. If I've been able to be myself, you see that in me. I went to Hollywood in 1996 to try to be an actor. I've done some things. not going to list my resume, but then I started hosting. And that's mostly about you, being yourself. On Booze Traveler, I did that. On these things I'm doing, Jack's Place, it's truly me. That's why I couldn't deny what was going on and not share this with you. Do another show, Belly Up. It's trivia and drinking. Talk about that some other time. The High Road's another show I do. That was just a couple of nights ago on Friday. We didn't talk about this at all. Was that something different? It's a produced television show with a Q&A before it and an interview afterwards. But this is our forum, our time together, to have a drink together. You probably need one, don't you? I do. But more important, we have to start being nice to each other and kinder. It really does start with that. Denise, yes, we have a chance to slow down and be present, Denise Wilson says. Connected, kind, and loving. Thanks for your share, your message, and for this live. I'm grateful. Thank you, Denise Wilson. I appreciate that. It's okay if you disagree. It's okay if you want to take a shot. I can take it. Not a literal shot. If you see me in the street and you want to talk, I don't think there's one person out there that ever said I turned them away. I know you want to be heard. Maybe not to me. Maybe you just want to talk about things I've done or places I've gone to, traveled to, people I've met. But I always have time for you. Always. No one out there said, ever, that I'm aware of, that I refuse to take a picture with them or have a conversation, even when I'm in the middle of dinner or I'm with family or friends. Please, if you want to share, come up to me. If you are kind, I will be kind back. If you're not, well, I'm only human. But I'll try. It's who I am. Who are you? We're about to find out. If we don't have any more questions or comments that my producer thinks can add to the discussion, we'll just sign off. And I promise you, the next time you see me, we'll talk about other things and we'll have some fun. Melanie Martin, have a chat and a drink. Many problems, great and small, have been settled so with a chat and a drink. That's one thing about doing Booze Traveler around the world. When I got to sit down with people and have a drink with them, things changed. I mean, I know we say that on the show, that you sit down with someone, have a couple of cocktails, the whole world opens up. I forget the exact dialogue. I recorded that a long time ago. But it's true. And I've said this before. Sitting down with someone, having a drink with them is like a big liquid hug. Maybe we should do that some more. How about this for a challenge? Do you accept this challenge? Meet up with someone that you normally wouldn't. Ask them out for a drink. Or have them over, 6 feet apart, of course, for now. Or call someone this week that you wouldn't have. Have a drink like this online or over the phone. It's not about the drink, it's about the connection. Sometimes we just need a reason to reach across to the other side. I think the alcohol allows us to do that physically because of the way it makes us feel, but also symbolically. When you're sharing this with someone, you're sitting down, having a drink, it changes the dynamic. Maybe you'll do that this week. Whether you do or not, I will this week. I promise you, and we'll talk about that some other time. Be safe this week. It's crazy out there. Just a few yards from my front door last night, chaos and destruction. But for the people who are demonstrating and protesting, I hear you. And I feel what's going on in your communities, and I understand it. Not in the way you do. But as always, going forward, I want to be part of the solution, not the problem. Julie says, challenge accepted. Anne-Marie, cheers. We accept the challenge. Anyone else? It's about the connection, says Shannon. Yes, it is. Again, we're people. Darren Jones, yes, friendship is gold. So reach out to your friends. Tell them you love them. Reach out to a stranger. Maybe you'll make a friend. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you some other time. Cheers.